Shiva's mother watered the sacred stone every single day. She believed that after 1,000 times, the stone would grant any wish. But her son didn't believe it. He grabbed a crowbar and knocked the stone over, terrifying the villagers nearby. Then he lifted the stone onto his shoulder. The villagers immediately put their hands together and prayed. But instead of placing it back, Shiva carried the stone beneath the waterfall. He told his mother this way it would be watered far more than 1,000 times. Suddenly, something magical happened. A mask fell from the waterfall and landed at Shiva's feet. From that day on, he stared at the mask every day. One day, he accidentally stepped on it. Leaving the shape of a face, he carefully drew hair onto it. Suddenly, a girl appeared before him. Shiva was instantly captivated. He rushed toward the top of the waterfall and saw a girl dancing gracefully. Gathering his courage, he jumped toward her. But just as he reached out, she vanished, leaving behind only her beautiful silhouette. Shiva chased after her. The girl kept moving higher and higher. Shiva fought against the powerful waterfall, climbing upward with determination. After great effort, he finally reached the top. The girl was waiting for him. Just as Shiva thought he had found true love, the girl suddenly turned into a butterfly and flew away. It turned out to be an illusion. Later, in a nearby forest, Shiva saw the same girl being chased by soldiers. He followed them quietly. Soon the soldiers caught up to her. As Shiva prepared to step in, a blade suddenly flew through the air. The girl instantly defeated one of the soldiers. Shiva froze in shock. In the next moment, arrows rained down from all directions. It turned out the girl had already set an ambush. Within moments, all the soldiers were defeated. Shiva was completely stunned. He secretly followed her group. They soon arrived at a hidden cave. Shiva discovered they were part of a rebel organization, determined to rescue their imprisoned princess. But Shiva didn't care about politics. He only wanted to win the girl's heart. Later, the girl placed her hand into the river. Small fish gathered around and healed her wounds. The soothing feeling slowly put her to sleep. At that moment, Shiva quietly swam up from underwater. He gently drew a beautiful pattern on her hand. Soon a horn sounded and woke her up. The leader had found the perfect chance to rescue the princess. The king's birthday celebration was approaching, the ideal opportunity. The leader assigned the dangerous mission to the girl, but when she stepped forward, the leader noticed the pattern on her hand. He became furious. He believed she should not be distracted by appearances. It went against their original oath. As he tried to send her away, she grabbed him and delivered an emotional speech. Moved by her determination, the leader finally gave her another chance. However, he swore to find the person who had been playing tricks on him. He had his friend disguise himself as bait, believing the mysterious person would appear again. The leader hid in a tree, waiting to teach the intruder a lesson. But what he didn't know was that Shiva had already sneaked up behind him. Shiva placed a snake onto his shoulder. The girl immediately panicked. Shiva then drew another pattern on the leader's shoulder. The girl tapped her bowstring to distract the snake. When the snake reacted, she fired and knocked it away. Later, the leader went to his friend and discovered yet another mark. This completely enraged him. Suddenly, he noticed footprints on the ground and began chasing them. Soon he spotted Shiva in the snow. An arrow flew towards Shiva, but he narrowly dodged it. The girl continued attacking without hesitation. Shiva noticed a large pit in the ground. He quickly prepared a trap and hid behind a tree. A moment later, the girl fell into the pit, but when Shiva approached, the pit was empty. Suddenly, she appeared behind him and demanded to know who he was. When she heard that Shiva had climbed the waterfall, she refused to believe it. As Shiva tried to explain, the girl pressed her blade against him, forcing him to stay still. He told her he had come all this way because he loved her. This only made her angrier. She attacked, and both of them rolled down the hillside together. When she charged again, Shiva adjusted her clothing style and painted her lips red. When the girl saw her reflection in the water, she realized for the first time how beautiful she truly was. Then Shiva showed her the mask. She finally understood that he hadn't lied. He really had climbed from beneath the waterfall. Touched by his determination, she accepted him. The two were married on the spot, but the girl still had her mission. The next morning, she knocked Shiva unconscious and prepared to leave alone. However, soldiers discovered her. They captured her and attempted to harm her. At that moment, Shiva appeared. He quickly defeated several soldiers and knocked down everyone who rushed at him. But something unexpected happened. One soldier recognized Shiva's face and immediately knelt, calling him Your Majesty and begging for forgiveness. Before Shiva could understand what was happening, more soldiers arrived. He grabbed the girl and ran. The soldiers threw chains, tripping the girl. As the pursuers closed in, Shiva pushed over a massive boulder. The snow began to slide, knocking down the soldiers. But this triggered an avalanche. Shiva tore off tree bark and used it as a sled. Just before the avalanche hit, they escaped downhill together. The avalanche chased after them. Shiva slipped off but managed to grab back on in time. He steered toward a cliff and launched off the edge, narrowly escaping disaster. The girl told Shiva he could not abandon his destiny. Shiva decided to help her complete her mission. Soon, he arrived alone at the royal city. The king's birthday celebration was underway. As workers lifted the massive statue, one slave slipped a chain. Reaction followed, and the statue began to fall. At the critical moment, Shiva rushed forward and caught the falling statue with his bare hands. He saved countless lives when he helped the slave up. The man saw Shiva's face and gasped in shock. He shouted the name Baahubali. Other slaves joined in. Soon the entire square echoed with Baahubali's name. The statue was finally raised, but instead of feeling proud, the king felt deeply humiliated. That night, he summoned his ministers and demanded to know who first shouted Baahubali's name. When no one answered, one man stepped forward and pointed to Shiva. The king ordered Shiva to approach. Shiva suddenly kicked over the fire basin. Flames spread instantly across the hall. For a moment, the king believed he was truly seeing Baahubali again. He ordered his men to capture Shiva alive. Shiva escaped the palace and found the princess chained in the square. Guards rushed toward him. He knocked several of them down, wrapped chains around his arms, and fought off the surrounding soldiers. The prince immediately raised the alarm. More guards poured in. Shiva grabbed a chariot, cut the chains, and charged forward. As he reached the city gate, soldiers set straw on fire, blocking the exit with flames. But Shiva did not slow down at all. Shiva charged straight through the wall of fire, but the moment he reached the forest, hidden soldiers triggered a trap. He was blasted into the air and fell into a mud pit. Moments later, he was knocked unconscious with a wooden club. When Shiva woke up, he saw the prince torturing the princess. That sight instantly filled him with rage. He broke free from his restraints, grabbed a soldier by the leg, and slammed every guard who rushed at him. The furious prince joined the fight. With a single strike, Shiva shattered the prince's sword, grabbed him by the throat, and smashed him into a tree. As the prince tried to escape, Shiva caught him and beat him mercilessly. Suddenly, Katappa kicked Shiva aside. The two warriors began fighting fiercely. Shiva was pinned to the ground, his head crushed underfoot. Just as the prince prepared the final blow, Shiva snapped off a thick tree branch. Terrified, the prince backed away. Shiva kicked Katappa away and used the tree trunk to brutally overpower the prince. Before Shiva could finish him, Katappa intervened again. At that moment, the girl arrived with her rebel forces and clashed with the incoming soldiers. A warhorse charged toward the battlefield. Shiva and the prince both rushed for it. When Katappa grabbed his sacred sword, Shiva pulled it free in one swift motion and decapitated the prince with a single strike. Everyone on the battlefield was stunned. Suddenly, heavy rain began to fall. As the mud washed off Shiva's face, Katappa finally saw his true identity. He dropped his spear, fell to his knees, and shouted the name Baahubali. All the soldiers immediately knelt as well. Katappa lifted Shiva's foot and placed it upon his own head in loyalty and submission. The next day, Katappa revealed the truth. Shiva was the son of Baahubali, and the story began 50 years earlier. Shiva's grandfather had inherited the throne of Mahishmati kingdom, although he had an older brother. That brother was disabled and was denied the crown, a resentment that never faded. After the king's death, only a 6-month-old prince remained. Shiva's father, Queen Sivagami, assumed control of the kingdom. Wise and powerful, she brought peace and prosperity to the land. But she knew enemies were everywhere. She asked the ministers who would continue supporting the royal bloodline. They mocked her, refusing to accept a woman ruler. Sivagami summoned Katappa. Without hesitation, he slaughtered the rebellious ministers. When their guards attempted to intervene, they betrayed their masters. Instead, revealing that Sivagami had already secured their loyalty, Sivagami personally killed the final traitor, cleansing the court of corruption. Though the nobles begged her to become queen, she refused. Instead, she declared that her two adopted sons, Baahubali and Baahubali, would compete fairly. Whoever proved himself superior would inherit the throne. The brothers were trained identically from childhood. Baahubali showed compassion, eating with soldiers and caring for the people. As they grew older, Baahubali demonstrated unmatched combat skill, dodging countless arrows without injury. Baahubali was equally powerful, smashing massive boulders with his mace. Baahubali encouraged his brother, promising to appoint him commander if he became king, but this only fueled Baahubali's jealousy. Their rivalry intensified. One day, a spy infiltrated the palace and stole classified information. The queen ordered both princes to retrieve him. They tracked the spy to a heavily guarded criminal hideout. Pretending to be drunk customers, they caused chaos inside. Baahubali shattered the liquor jars, distracting everyone. While the criminals rushed to drink, Baahubali located the spy. Baahubali chased him to a cliff. He threw a rope to Baahubali and jumped after the spy, but Baahubali secretly released the rope, letting Baahubali fall, smiling in satisfaction. Luckily, The rope caught on a rock, Baahubali believed his brother had saved him. Just as Baahubali prepared to cut the rope again, Katappa arrived, forced to help. Baahubali pulled Baahubali back to safety. After interrogating the spy, they learned he had given the secrets to King Kalakea, who commanded an army of 100,000 soldiers. Mahishmati only had 20,000. Kalakea's forces were already mobilizing, leaving destruction wherever they marched. Baahubali proposed a risky triple formation battlefield strategy. The royal uncle rejected it, calling it unrealistic and dangerous. The queen then made a decisive announcement: whichever prince killed King Kalakea would become the next ruler. However, the royal uncle sabotaged Baahubali by giving him useless engineering equipment instead of cavalry and chariots. Baahubali remained calm and ordered his men to collect tents instead, confusing everyone. During the war ritual, Baahubali sacrificed a bull, earning loud cheers, but when it was Baahubali's turn, he stopped the sacrifice. Instead, he cut his own palm and offered his blood to the gods. This ignited the soldiers' morale like wildfire. Negotiations with Kalakea failed when he insulted the queen. Enraged, she ordered the war horns to sound. The battlefield exploded into chaos. Baahubali's archers unleashed waves of arrows, mowing down enemies. Baahubali launched massive stone projectiles, and although the enemy dodged at first, something unexpected was about to happen. The movie ends here. Thanks for your watching. Leave your comments below and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on the notification and leave a like to help the channel out.